Welcome to week 17, boys and girls. It's time for another NFL live stream here on the Betting Pros YouTube channel. He is Andrew Erickson. I am Matt Perrault, and we are both frozen in New England as well. It's week 17, Erickson. It's the end of the fantasy football schedule. We have a broken up slate because of the games on Thursday for Christmas, the 2 games on Saturday. So it's depressed slate here for week 17. As a whole, does that change the way you approach from a betting perspective, the fact that we don't have the same number of games we normally would have?
Well, I do always like to look at how the games leading up to Sunday kind of played out. And so far, we are 5-0 with the underdogs covering and most of them winning outright. So eventually, we're going to start to see some favorites probably pick up the slack a little bit here. So maybe that does give you a little bit more confidence. Again, if you want to lay the points with the Patriots, okay, it's a big number, but some of these favorites got to cover the spread at some point. I know that me and you like the Seahawks this week, so that makes me feel a little bit better about laying a touchdown on the road. So hopefully the favorites can kind of even things out. But so far, the story of week 17 has been these underdogs.
Yeah, the movement, we'll get to it in a little bit. There has been professional movement on the dog for the Panthers, which you can get 6.5 now, which I like that number even better than the 7 that you and I both liked. And I bet 7, I bet 6.5 as well, but we'll get to that a little bit later on in the program. Before we get rolling with the games, that remind you guys about Hard Rock Bet. They are Florida Sportsbook. They are the presenting sponsor of this live stream, and they are the official sportsbook partner of the Florida teams, 2 of which I like a lot today, in the Jaguars and the Bucs, also the Heat, the Magic, and the Panthers. It is week 17, so we got playoffs. We got a lot of things on the line coming up here. You can build a same game parlay on Hard Rock Bet and turn game day into a payday if you would like. If you missed the start of the game, don't forget about in-game live betting that's available with Hard Rock Bet, so you can get down on a game. Maybe you get in a little bit late, maybe you get a better price than what we bet pregame on a live stream or live in-game play. Also, reminder about the offer. A $5 bet wins you not just the bet itself, but if it wins, you win $150 in bonus bets as well. Hard Rock Bet Sportsbook app is the only legal sportsbook in Florida, but it's also live in Arizona, Ohio, New Jersey, Indiana, Tennessee, Virginia, Illinois, Colorado, and Michigan. Download the Hard Rock Bet app and make your first deposit today. All right, let's jump into the slates, Andrew, and let's start with Arizona and Cincinnati. This number has been 7 pretty much since it was bet up early in the week, from 5.5 to 7 after Cincy's very impressive performance last week. Joe Burrow and company lighting up the scoreboard, but Arizona had a tough time of it. Normally, Jacoby Brissett's an overplay, but he wasn't last week with Arizona really struggling. They've been looking ahead to the Aruba and the Cancun vacations. Do you bank on the Cardinals going up to Ohio and playing well in the cold today?
No, not necessarily. These dome teams always concern me this late in the year, even though the Cardinals seem like a team that is always live to do a backdoor cover just based on how they play offensively. They just drop back to throw 50, 60 times per game. This is a game that a lot of fantasy managers are looking at because there should be a bonanza of points. 53.5 is the total here. Is there any weather? I know you said the cold weather. Is there any precipitation in this game or anything like that?
Yeah, so what we're looking at is showers and sprinkles are possible. There's wind in this game to kind of take a look at it, but 25 mile per hour winds, nothing too crazy. You might see a long field goal get affected or maybe a long pass, but I don't think we have to worry too much about the passing game for either team here with weather. So we really don't have a gigantic a game that I would circle as a massive weather game besides maybe Philly at Buffalo because of the rain that's being projected, heavy downpours in that game, but nothing to really worry too much about this one for Cincy. But I mean, I'm with you on the back door though. That's why I'm betting first half. I'm laying the 4 with the Bengals in the first half. I don't want the back door because I see it being wide open. The Cardinals have been outscored on the road in Jacoby Brissett starts 71-17 in the last 3 starts. So I like Burrow and company to get off to a fast start, but I don't want to see that fourth quarter, oh my gosh, touchdown that causes me to lose my bet. So I'm going first half Bengals.
Yeah, I do like one of my player props for this game with Michael Wilson, the wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals. So we got a report earlier today. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to play, but he's going to be on a snap count, which is kind of similar to what he did last week. It's actually pretty similar to the last 2 games that he has played. He has not played a full complement of snaps. But in both of those games, Michael Wilson has been completely off the radar, even with Marvin Harrison Jr. just being active in the lineup, because when he is running routes, he's the first read in a lot of those plays. Jacoby Brissett is looking for him and not necessarily Michael Wilson. So I think Michael Wilson's reception prop, 4.5, is way too high. every single game he's played that Marvin Harrison Jr. has been active, not even playing a full. He doesn't have a single game with 4 catches, 0 games. So I'm taking the under on that, especially with the way that you attack the Bengals defense, tight ends, and running backs. I expect Trey McBride to have a monster of all monster games in fantasy championships, especially after he had a dud last week. So I think they will allow Trey McBride, Michael Carter, the running back, and not necessarily the receivers. Bengals allowing the 3rd fewest receptions to wide receivers this season, not because they're necessarily great against wide receivers, but because teams are attacking them through running backs and tight ends. So also DJ Turner's been a really good quarter this year. If Marvin Harrison Jr. isn't playing as much, well, that means Michael Wilson is going to grab more of that coverage from DJ Turner, who's basically been the Bengals' best defensive player this season.
Let's go to the Cardinals. Sorry, let's go to the Seahawks on the road against the Panthers. And I'll give you my handicap, then let's get yours because the chat disagrees with us. A couple of people are all over the Panthers today, which, okay, I'm not going to argue too heavily on this. The number is coming down. As we mentioned, 7's what the number that I bet and Andrew likes, but you can get 6.5 at FanDuel, 6.5 at DraftKings, 6.5 at Caesars. Here's why I think that's on the wrong side. Sam Darnold as a favorite of 6 points or more. 12 times he has started games in which that number has been 6 or higher. He is 12-0 straight up. He is 9-3 against the spread. Mike McDonald, coach of the Seahawks, he is 10-4-1 against the number on the road. And when he plays in the Eastern time zone, he is 6-2-1 ATS. In the 1 p.m. window where you might go, West Coast team playing early, nope. They've won 8 straight games, including 7-0 since the start of last season for the Seahawks in the early part. I think they play well. They know they need it. The Niners play tonight against the Bears, sets up that big game next week. And frankly, I just don't think the Panthers are on the same level as the Seahawks offense and defense. Give me the Seahawks laying 6.5. For you?
Love those numbers that you laid out on the Seahawks side, kind of being pro Seahawks. I'm going to pour some cold water on the Carolina Panthers, who last week, talking about all the shows this week, I feel like I cracked the code on the Carolina Panthers where you bet on them after a loss. They are undefeated against the spread coming off a loss. You think the Panthers, this most volatile team? Yeah, you're right. Because every other week you get a different team that suits up for this franchise. 2-5 against the spread after a win this year. That's 4-7 since the start of last year. So basically, in Dave Canales' tenure as the head coach, this team does not come off wins in a good fashion. They disappoint after wins, and it's a lot because people get confident and they're like, there's a reason why the Carolina Panthers haven't won as a favorite in like 3 years.
Yep.
Because they are constantly disappointing when there are expectations. So now the expectation is, oh, well, they are going to cover against the Seahawks. They are going to play well at home. I don't think so. Seahawks coming off extra rest after playing on Thursday. Carolina is 0-2 against the spread after a divisional win. So again, they know that the Panthers season, where is it most important? Do they have to win this game? No. This game really doesn't matter for Carolina. All that matters is week 18 against Tampa Bay. If Tampa Bay is killing the Miami Dolphins at halftime, you really think the Panthers players are going to look up and think, man, like, let's just get ready for week 18. Like, let's get ready for week 18. So I don't know. I haven't experimented with any type of parlays where you're taking the Buccaneers and the Seahawks because, like I said, Carolina, if they look up and think, oh, well, we don't have anything to play for, let's just kind of pack it in. If the Buccaneers are killing Miami, maybe a little 2-leg parlay you can work together with the Buccaneers winning and the Seahawks covering this bigger line.
So my teaser is Jags and the Dolphins, but I've also bet a 3-leg money line parlay of Seahawks, Jags and the Bucks. Excuse me. So Bucks and Jags tease down to basically a pick to a money line play, but also just do money line parlay for a 3-leg money line parlay. I've also bet that involving Seattle. So I'm with you on this. I think in terms of teams that know what happens next week. So Seattle needs to win this game to set up the game for next week against the 49ers because it's not just about the division. It's also about the 1 seed overall. So you might go like, well, they're playing for next week. Well, now there's more than just next week for Seattle. They need this game today to win this. For the Panthers, it really comes down to next week because they would win the tiebreaker. In case you're curious why, you'd be like, wait a minute. Look, if they lose, they currently go and play. If they beat the Bucks next week in Tampa, they end with the same record. They'd be 2-0 against Tampa. They'd win the division. So that's why this game doesn't matter for the Panthers all that much in terms of going to the playoffs. They're not a wild card team. They know that they have one path to the playoffs. That's it. So they may, pull back a little bit in the second half and say, okay, we don't need this. We got to make sure we're ready for next week going on the road against Tampa, where they're going to be pretty big dogs. I mean, depending on what the Bucks look like today, and they're banged up, but there's some good stats we'll get to here in a second about the Bucks to get a W. So that's why
you know who I'll be over next week when the Carolina Panthers lose this week. will be the Carolina Panthers again against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as heavy home favorites, as we like to bet against Baker Mayfield.
Gosh, I'm going to do it simply because I have my biggest preseason bet was on the Bucs to win the division at plus 110. So I have no choice but to hedge because I think you're right. I'm going to take the points. I'm going to try to catch both bets. I'm going to bet heavy on the Panthers next week, but I need that to go with a loss here today to set that up for next week to have that scenario. Because if they win and they beat Seattle, that scenario is out the window. Your track record, win loss, and bet against them after a loss or bet on them after a loss is out the window. So they need to lose today to set that up, which I think that they will. I think Seattle wins the game. I think Seattle winds up covering today as well. Let's go to the Giants and the worst team in football, the Raiders. But today we find out which team is a tankalicious better than the other. So they're not playing Kenny Pickett. I thought for sure that they would make up some injury and play Kenny Pickett and not play Geno Smith. For that lone factor, I think the Raiders win today. I'm not betting this, but I think the Raiders are going to blow the one pick because the Giants are on the road, and I don't think the Giants really care. I think the Giants, the whole Max Crosby thing, I think that might fire up the locker room. I think it might be actually a positive because he was so pissed off about being shut down for the year with the knee issue he's dealing with. But I'll take the Raiders. I'm not betting it, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Raiders win the game and cover.
Yeah, if you're betting on this game, you are braver than me.
Tip of the cap.
Just like 4 range outcomes. Again, you don't know which team is playing for what. What's the incentive here? For me, it's about I just want Ashton Genty props. I have a bunch of fantasy leagues in my championship that I'm still alive in. Ashton Genty, he's my last guy playing in that game. So I'm going to need him to have a monster performance coming off a monster game last week. So I'd look at touchdown props for Genty. So when I look at who's the best player on the field on offense on both teams, probably Ashton Genty because Brock Bowers isn't going to play in the Giants' run defense. It's been absolutely atrocious. And Ashton Genty, he doesn't know any motor but 110%. And he's going to be trying to break tackles, rip off big plays. Look, he wants to hit 1,000 rushing yards. And after last week's big performance, like he is within striking distance of them. I think that matters to a rookie running back who, for the most part, has been a disappointment. But we all know it's not been his fault because the offensive line has been absolutely terrible. So I think Genty, if he gets going, I don't think anyone's gonna be able to stop him this week. So I like the Raiders with I agree with you. Like Raiders with the points, I guess that's probably the best way to play it, but
2.5.
It's risky. Yeah.
It's crazy because I bet Ashton Genty to get over 7.5 rushing touchdowns this year. He's gone over that number, but that's total touchdowns. I did not expect him to be as big of a weapon in the receiving game, even though he was great in college catching the football. I think most people, including myself, looked at it and said, okay, Boise State in the Mountain West Conference, it's a little different in the NFL. Well, he's taken the football from a passing perspective and been worthy of a pick that he was taken in the top 5. Running the football, not so much, but as a receiver, he's been tremendous. He's got 5 receiving touchdowns now, I believe, to 4 rushing touchdowns. So he has 9 touchdowns, where I think for a rookie campaign, people wouldn't really think that. Like there's been such a negative connotation around what's been happening with Ashton Genty saying, oh my God, what a bad pick he was. I think the numbers are there to justify the kid's had a really good start to his career. He's just on an awful team with no offensive line and a quarterback who's thrown 15 picks. Like, that's not his fault. It's not Ashton Genty's fault.
Oh, definitely not.
So I think next year, if they can figure out the quarterback position and figure out the offensive line next year, I think the Raiders could really have something in Ashton Genty going forward. It's just not, unfortunately, this year. But the Giants don't want to win. The Raiders don't want to win. But I think being at home, Pete Carroll and Geno Smith are just trying to, save face here. They don't want to have the worst record in football. So I like the Raiders to win the game today against the Giants. Pittsburgh and Cleveland. This is another game where you might go weather could be an issue. Not really. Rain. It's going to be nasty later in the night. There's a big storm coming through the Northeast. Later in the north, in Ohio is going to be nasty later for Cleveland. Right now for game time, shouldn't be too bad, but there is wind. About 25 mile per hour gusts are expected and some rain during the game as well. And obviously it's a lake effect, so it could change in a hurry there in Cleveland. But right now, weather shouldn't be that big of an issue for these teams. We've got a Steeler team that's laying 3.5 or 4 on the road to Cleveland. The total is the story, though, Andrew. It's 35.5. From a total perspective, this is super low for an Aaron Rodgers team. We don't see many games with a total of this low. You dare bet the over? in Cleveland, Pittsburgh?
See, that's probably where the value is, though, because we get these lines so drastically low, and you get there because there's a turnover, there are short fields, and it's not because you actually see an offensive explosion from either team, but it's just because, oh, well, there's turnovers and there's sacks and there's short fields, especially when you have Shadur Sanders as the Browns quarterback who loves to take sacks. So that does play into the total here. I would rather bet on the sides. I like the Browns catching the points. Browns have one of the best home field advantages historically, third best, trailing only the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Chicago Bears. What those teams all have in common? They all play really well at home. They play in really bad weather. And maybe Pittsburgh thinking that, oh, well, the Packers will take care of business against the Ravens. We're kind of looking ahead to week 18. It's like, oh, well, this game really matters for us. Nope. Well, the Ravens end up winning. The Ravens are still live somehow, some way, with Tyler Huntley and Derrick Henry still scoring touchdowns, I'm pretty sure, from last season. An absolute historic performance from Derrick Henry. Just amazing. So I think maybe the Steelers get caught sleepwalking here a little bit. Maybe they weren't really as tuned in this week thinking that, oh, maybe we can just kind of default back into the playoffs. We don't have to really worry about week 18, but now that's a game that matters, that they have to beat the Ravens. So I think, or excuse me, they need to beat the Browns to win the division, correct? Yeah. So
yes,
still, I like the Browns to cover here. Beat the Browns.
So in Aaron Rodgers' career, he's played in 276 career games. This would be the lowest total ever for an Aaron Rodgers started game, 35.5. We've never seen it. 37 was the previous low. He had 37 against Minnesota in 08, Cleveland back in 25, and against the Jets earlier this year. 38-38 were those numbers. He won all three of those games. He's 3-0 when there's a total this low. So looking for the Steelers to perform well with the total this low, it's possible. Since we realigned the divisions in 2002, 13-6 to the under for the Browns, when they are, when it's 35 or less, we're at 35.5. So there's been some movement. It was 34.5 this morning. So we have seen some movement to the over in this game because the weather is not so much of a problem. I think the under would be the only play that I would be comfortable making in this game. I have no action at all in this game, but if I was going to bet anything, it would be the under. I don't mind your side at all. In fact, to make week 18 even more entertaining, I'm cheering for the Browns. I would like to see Cleveland win this game outright. So then we see a better matchup in week 18.
The NFL needs to make sure there's at least some games that they can flex into prime time on week 18.
Oh, we got a bunch of them, right? I mean, we have an NFC South championship game potentially. We have an AFC North championship game potentially. And we have what was the third one? Oh, and the NFC West championship game. So we could have three.
Broncos won because the Chargers lost last night.
NFC, not AFC, NFC West.
NFC.
The NFC West. Steelers, Seahawks, and the 49ers play next week. So you got three games at least that could have some level of interest from a ratings perspective. But yeah, unfortunately, the Broncos clinched and ended that whole in the West. The Patriots win today. Patriots clinch. So it's to see how it all kind of plays out for New England. Let's talk about New Orleans and Tennessee briefly. This is a game that's got a number of 1.5, just like the Giants and the Raiders game. If you're betting this game, you're more brave than I am. I have no idea who the hell I would pick in this. Do you have a side or a thought on Saints on the road outside against the Titans?
I think that the way that you just described it I like the Titans here at home.
Okay.
The line has moved towards Tennessee. I mean, this opened, I think, close to Saints laying 4.5, 3.5 points. And then you've seen more money coming on the Titans. Now it's down to Titans plus 1.5. So Titans have covered 4 of their last 5 home games. I think that they've been playing much better. And the Saints aren't a wagon. Yeah, they've played really well in some of these divisional games, but it's a dome team playing outdoors. It's still a rookie quarterback, still someone that hasn't had a ton of experience playing in the NFL. So against 2 rookie quarterbacks, I lean towards the home team here. If you look at the Saints too, 0-3 towards the total as a favorite this season, 0-4 towards the total after a win. I mean, you talked about, I think, last week where the Saints are just an under machine. So if it's a lower scoring game, I lean towards the side with the home team. And because I do think this game is kept pretty close, and I think the Titans are live to win, I actually like betting on Tony Pollard and his rushing props. So he's gone over 60 rushing yards in 4 straight games. So 59.5 rushing yards. And he's also been over 100, I think, in the last 3 of his games. So he's been putting up monster numbers. He has contract incentives. So he is closing in on 1,000 yards, and he gets an extra $250,000 if he hits 1,100 rushing yards this season. So what are the Titans playing for? I know Tony Pollard's trying to pay for some money. That's why he's going out to get a fat paycheck in a basically lost season for the Tennessee Titans. And the thing with the Saints defense playing on the road, they just put one of their defensive tackles on injured reserve from last week, Brian Brzee. So I think that we've seen this with a lot of teams where you lose one guy in that interior. Saw it with the Browns, Malik Collins. He went down. The Browns can't stop the run. Patriots, they lose Milton Williams. What happens? They can't stop the run. So I think that this injury is going to cut. We're going to look up and think, oh, wow, Tony Pollard, another 100-yard game. How did this happen? Well, you look at the defense and you see that injury, and then it all kind of makes sense. So I like Tony Pollard going over his rushing prop this week.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like that a lot. I think the reason why I haven't bet the under in this game is because I am a little bit concerned. If there was weather in Nashville, I would bet the under. But the weather is going to be fine for this game. There's no weather concerns. I think you're going to see both defenses be lit up today. I mean, I think I would bet the over 39. I wouldn't bet the under. I bet the over. So I went to this thinking, okay, it's Saints. I'm betting the under. And then I went and looked at some of the metrics and looked at how Malik Willis is, how this offense is playing, and what is the future for this team with Cam Ward at the quarterback position, and what we saw last night with Malik Willis and how well he played. Like, some of these younger quarterbacks are really starting to step up and do some impressive things. I could see a career day potentially here for Cam Ward and company. They could put up some points. So I backed off of it and said, all right, no, I'm not betting the under. I would bet if I was going to bet it, I would bet the over. I'm not betting anything in this game, though. I have no clue. The next two games, though, I am pretty well committed to. Tampa Bay and Miami. The number was 4.5. It's 5.5 at DraftKings and FanDuel. They're out on their own. Vegas is at 4.5. Circa, the Superbook, are at 4.5. South Point is at 4.5. We're seeing occasional fives trickling around. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy here as to what's going to happen. This is Baker Mayfield in a must-win situation, favored on the road. Can you get behind this, or would you rather do what I'm doing? Is I'm making it a money line. This is just a money line play for me. I like the Bucs to win, but I don't trust them to cover. Do you?
I feel like a lot of people are doing what you're doing, where nobody trusts the Buccaneers to cover, but like, they're going to win. They're going to beat Miami. Baker Mayfield usually is a pretty good bet on the road, whether he's a home or whether he's a favorite or an underdog. I mean, again, you got to imagine the Buccaneers, it's so weird to look at these teams' records and be like, wow, they're actually one win apart. And if they tied Miami, would actually have a higher seeding than them in the draft. When the two seasons could have gone like any differently, but the Buccaneers have just been so bad. Lost 7 of their last 8 games, just like absolutely just a train wreck, but they're still alive because they play in the worst division in football. And they know that, hey, we take care of business. We beat the Panthers next week. We're going to make the playoffs and get killed by some wild card team that visits them in the wild card round. I think that's probably the right way to play it, is going with the Buccaneers on the money line. I like the over in this game too. Again, you're playing in warm weather. The Buccaneers are, one of the reasons why they've been so bad is because their defense is terrible. They can't stop the pass, and teams know it. Teams don't even try to run on the Bucs because they sell out to stop the run. They're a pass funnel. Quinn Ewers, is he great? No, but he can air it out. Mike McDaniel has some explosive playmakers between Achane and Jalen Waddle. So I think we can get points here. So I like the over at 44.5. I don't think it's that high. So, but I'm not going to push back on your process here.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about this Bucs team, and this is sort of like, you're on about the trends here. They lost 3 straight games, Panthers, Falcons, Saints, all divisional games. Teams that have done that, they've lost 3 straight games, all inside the division. The next game, they are 8-0 straight up and 8-0 against the spread since 2009. So it doesn't happen all that often where a team has a 3-game losing streak, but normally they snap out of it. When they get outside the division, they snap out of it. And look, Miami's playing Quinn Ewers. They're playing for draft position. They have no interest in winning this game. They do not now. Is it Mike McDaniel next year coaching this team? That's a debate. But I don't think Miami wants to win this game. So it's up to the Bucs to go and take it. And Baker Mayfield is, if he's not on an operating table like within a week of their year ending, I will be stunned. He has a massive left shoulder problem. Like, it's so obvious he cannot push the ball down the field because of that shoulder injury that he's suffering through. So it's either a dislocation, a torn labrum, or all the above for what he's dealing with. And I give the guy incredible respect and credit for fighting his way through this season. but he's been awful the last month. I mean, Baker has been just absolutely horrific. I just don't think the Dolphins defense can take advantage of how bad Baker has been. I love Bucky Irving today. Bucky Irving over rushing and receiving yards. I think he has a monster game. I think the team knows that the injury, you got to protect Baker. And that means Bucky Irving time running and catching the football here today for Tampa. So I like him to have a big game.
Yeah, I mean, Todd Bowles talked about it last week where then we need to run the ball 30 times to win the game. Now, I don't necessarily can co-sign on that type of strategy, but it's pretty clear that's in Todd Bowles' mind that, hey, how do I win? It's not with Baker Mayfield dropbacks. It's with let's run the football. Tristan Wirfs is also out for this game.
Yeah.
He's been dealing with injuries all year. So losing a stud tackle doesn't necessarily help the passing game in Baker Mayfield. Actually, one of the props that the prop bet cheat sheet really likes this week, and prop bet cheat sheet has been excellent with betting on passing attempts, is Baker Mayfield under 31.5 pass attempts, under in 7 of his last 10 games played. And in the 4 games that Tristan Wirfs has missed, Mayfield is 1-3 towards the over on his passing attempts at 31.5. So to your point, to playing to, hey, they're going to establish it with Bucky Irving, I think maybe if you correlate that with a Baker Mayfield under his passing attempts, I know the prop bet cheat sheet's going to like that.
Good play. I like that a lot. Prop bet cheat sheet also likes 5-star for over Bucky Irving rushing and receiving yards. So that's why I'm jumping on that. And Lou Brosco says Matt knows shoulder injuries. Yes, you have no idea. Unfortunately, I do know. I do have a deep history to pull from for injuries to shoulders, both left and right shoulders. I can tell you about them both, unfortunately, what I've been dealing with. The other game that I'm teasing is Jacksonville on the road against Indianapolis. You almost don't have to do this. Like, this is just me teasing it down. But at home, Indianapolis is 2-7-1 against the spread against the Jaguars since 2015. Overall, since 2015, Indianapolis is 3-17-1 against the spread. It's remarkable. This is the kryptonite for this team, for Indianapolis, with Phillip Rivers, with all the injuries. I know they have Jonathan Taylor and whatnot, and they're at home, but I like the Jags to win the game. I'm just teasing it down, taking money line Jacksonville. Did the Jags get it done today? Did they get a win over Indy?
Yeah, I think so. They match up so well with what Indianapolis is able to do. Indianapolis wants to be able to establish it with Jonathan Taylor, but the Jaguars have the best run defense in the NFL, right? So they can take away Jonathan Taylor. And look, Phillip Rivers, I get that gutsy performance on Monday night. 49ers defense is not that great. I just think Jacksonville picks off more passes for Phillip Rivers, creates turnovers, and that gives them the win. So I wouldn't even be afraid of laying the points here with Jacksonville. It's one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now, and the Colts are just going in that complete other direction. I mean, had Daniel Jones injury just like sucked the wind out of this team. They were 7-1. They felt so good about Daniel Jones, and then the injuries happened, and it just became a total mess. So I don't like the Colts here in this spot. So I agree with you. The Jaguars is the play. I actually have a prop in this game, and it's on one of the Colts players, because talking about how do you attack this Jaguars defense is they're similar to the Bucs, they're a pass funnel, right? They're trying to force you out of the run. And at least with Phillip Rivers last week, we saw, hey, they're not afraid to air it out. Alec Pierce, I think that his receiving line is comically low at 31.5 yards.
Wow.
He was at 86 yards last week on 4 catches. So he can get here on one play, even if it's not exactly the best long field throw from Phillip Rivers. It only takes one for him to get here. He did this against the Jaguars earlier this year, where he had 80 receiving yards, and that was with Riley Leonard at quarterback. So in a game where they were already mix matching quarterbacks because Daniel Jones got hurt in the first matchup against Jacksonville, he had 80 yards in this game. So he is 129 yards away from 1,000 yards. He's going to be a free agent after this year. Alec Pierce, I really feel like Phillip Rivers, what's the point of him coming back? Let's get my receivers paid, right? Let's get this guy paid as a pending free agent. He has 40 yards in every game except 3 this year, 60 yards in all but 4 games played this season. So 31.5 receiving yards for Alec Pierce. I bet the over on that, and I did do a little bit of a ladder bet on it because he hits 60 yards so frequently. And against a defense where they're inviting you to have pass volume, love the overs on Alec Pierce this week.
I like it. I like it a lot. One more game in the early window, and really only 2 games after that, which is remarkable the way the NFL is structured this week. But it's here. The team that Andrew and I cover or watch closely, the Patriots, are on the road against the Jets. They're laying 13. After Denver won on Christmas, it's pretty air apparent. I mean, the Chargers offensive line was so bad yesterday. It's hard to see the Chargers beating the Broncos. The Patriots most likely are not going to get the number 1 seed. That's going to be the Denver Broncos. Patriots are playing for the 2nd seed and the division. but they're essentially punting on this game. They're resting 5 starters. They made some pretty big news with the injury news involving wide receivers. It was somewhat surprising. Andrew, what do you make of this? The number's 13 or 12.5. There's late money from the pros coming in here on the Jets. Do you like New York to cover this number?
Unfortunately, yes, I do. I
do
hate
too.
it. I hate it, but it's going back to, the process types of plays where you're double-digit underdog at home in the division. Like, this is just like betting 101, and it's one of those where you just got to click the button and just like walk away. But you kind of laid out the case where the Patriots, it's not their varsity A squad that's going to be out playing out there today. It's going to be a lot of backups in there. The offensive line is banged up. The defensive line is banged up. The Jets can at least run the football to some extent with Breece Hall. And the Jets almost covered this line the first time they played the Patriots. And that was with Fields at quarterback and basically took one turnover that really was the main difference from them covering that game. I believe that was 10.5 points with the Jets on the road. So 13.5. Yeah, I think the Jets is probably the smart play to make here. But again, like, I'm not betting on this game from a sides perspective. I like some of the touchdown stuff for the Patriots side because they're going to score points, whether it's Henderson, Stevenson, and Hunter Henry are all plus money to score touchdowns in this game. And given the injuries to the wide receivers, well, you're going to see a lot of running back action today. And Hunter Henry, he should have had a touchdown the first time that these teams met back on that Thursday night game. So I think he could score here. So that's kind of how I would play in this game.
After you watched yesterday, because I was stunned at the start for the Texans. I thought that was as good of a start for CJ Stroud that we've seen maybe ever. And then he absolutely threw up all over himself after that second touchdown toss. All hell broke loose for him, throwing interceptions and weird lob passes, going backwards and throwing the ball up, catching it, a jump ball up for grabs type of offense he was running in the second half. What do you make of the Texans? If the Patriots play the Texans, how dangerous are the Texans to walk into New England and knock out the Patriots?
I'm not so afraid of the Texans because they're one of these teams where they don't really blow teams out, right? They always play really, really close games. They're hoping that their defense ends up winning them for them. And, Drake May made his first start in the NFL against the Texans on the road last year. I remember it was really weird because they're like, oh, well, they're playing the Jets like 2 weeks. Like, let's wait for them to play Jets. And at the time, Drake May was like, no, he's going to start against the Texans. And he didn't look out of place in that particular match. And that was on the road. So I think that a second rematch against Houston for Drake May after all the experience that he's gotten, I'm not so concerned about Houston. Again, a dome team going on the road to play outdoor in the elements. Look, CJ Stroud has been really inconsistent all year long. You have a corner that can match up with Nico Collins, so then it has to be these ancillary pieces like Higgins, Knoll, Christian Kirk, a tight end, Dalton Schultz. I just don't know if the Texans have enough firepower, to be totally honest with you, to be able to not necessarily go to a shootout with the New England, but if New England puts up 21, are the Texans able to put up 24 on them? I'm not so convinced based on how this offense has really played inconsistently. Still can't run the football. So I think the Patriots will have a little bit more dynamism on offense and can make enough plays defensively, turnovers, generating sacks behind a terrible offensive line. Again, Texas offensive line still is so bad that, I'm not sure I'm super afraid of that particular matchup. And it'll be interesting to see who the Patriots actually end up drawing here. So,
it's probably going to be Chargers or the Texans. I mean, it's one or the other. It's one or the other. So it's either Chargers or Texans, depending on what happens with the next 2 games for the Patriots. But I mean, there's a term that people in New England have heard quite a bit, but living in Vegas, I have not heard the term bomb cyclone in a while. And that's what's dropping on New England tonight. A bomb cyclone is dropping, and we're going to get freezing rain all across the entire region. And it's going to be like 35 degrees in like sheets of ice dropping from the sky. If Houston walks into a game like that, forget it. They're done. So like, I need to see the weather before I make a really bold projection on this, but I probably would bet the Texans to win the game outright. If the weather conditions were like it is like right now here, it's just cold. That's it. No wind, sunny skies. Like, I think that's perfect for the Texans. I think their running attack and they play a more physical brand of football than the young Patriots. I hate the Texans draw. I would much rather the Chargers. Like, bring on a West Coast team, bring on Harbaugh, bring on, a busted hand version of Justin Herbert and a team that defensively just I'm not really all that afraid of. So I like the Patriots' chances of beating the Chargers. If it's LA, I like the draw better for the Patriots coming up here for that. So we'll see what ends up happening. All you people in the chat, oh, it's the same guy. Okay, saying the Bills are going to win the East. How big of a ticket do you have on the Bills to win the East? How much are you praying for the Bills? I don't think the Jets win the game today, guys. The Jets don't want to win the game. You understand something? The Jets and the Giants, they don't want to win. The Raiders, they don't want to win. There are teams actively playing to lose. They are tanking. They do not want to win. Patriots covering, I'll give it to you. Probably not. But there's a reason why, guys like Quinn Ewers are playing today. And Brady Cook, I'm sorry. Yeah, go right ahead. And if you want to, Brady Cook is starting, right? I know there's some question mark. It's Brady Cook for the Jets.
And Hendon Hooker is the backup. So it's Tyrod Taylor's not even like, I mean, to your point, like this team doesn't want to win. They're taking out every single guy that can help their team.
Yeah, and the Patriots are, I know that, as you mentioned, they're not playing their A game, but they are playing Drake May. They are playing Travion Henderson. So, like, they are playing some guys who they win the game and get out of Dodge. 10-7 and go home.
Yeah, exactly. This is a game where it's like, hey, let's get New York, win the game, leave. Like,
get out of there and see you next week and go to week 18 and see what happens today with Philadelphia and Buffalo and hope the Eagles win. And then we wind up getting the Patriots with, a W, and it doesn't matter what happens next week against the Dolphins. Guys, track your bets and get line alerts across your phone by downloading the BettingPros app with Sportsbook Sync. Automatically track your bets across all major sportsbook all in one spot. You can easily monitor your bet performance by bet type, including game picks, props, and parlays. You can create best betting systems to find winning trends and profitable opportunities. And new users can get 6 months of BettingPros Premium for free with your first deposit and wager at one of our partner sportsbooks. Learn more about it by going to bettingpros.com/premium. Okay, only one game in the afternoon slate, and that's the 4:25 kickoff between the Bills hosting the Philadelphia Eagles. Weather is the question here in this game. They are expecting torrential downpours during this game. It's going to be very, very wet. I only like James Cook here in this game. I think he has a monster game running the football. I think that both teams are going to have to rely heavily on their running game. But what do you make of this? Do you think the Eagles, who are 3-point dogs, can go to Buffalo and get a win?
Yeah, I do. Because I think that the Bills can't stop the run. Saquon Barkley's finally starting to look like his old self a little bit. Yeah. I know there's no Lane Johnson, so that's unfortunate. But Jalen Carter's coming back. I just think that the Bills I feel like undermanned. Like Josh Allen and James Cook is like everything for them. Like no one else is stepping up. There's no wide receivers. Both tight ends are injured, playing through injuries. Dalton Kincaid barely plays 25% of the snaps because he's like dealing with his knee injury. And we saw Josh Allen, Superman, get banged up last week. And they didn't, they were lucky to beat the Browns last week. So Philly is a team that's battle tested on the road. They perform well as underdogs. It's so weird where you're like, man, if Josh Allen was just an underdog, I feel so much better him at home, but he's not. Like, they're favorites. And I get the Eagles are not the most consistent team, but this seems pretty easy to see play out where it's like, do the Bills really need this game? Like, you just said it, right? The Patriots are going to win the division anyway. So what's more important, beating the Eagles or making sure Josh Allen is 100% healthy for the playoffs? Because we all know that if he is full go, they can beat anybody. And that's really all that matters. So I actually like Philadelphia here winning kind of an ugly, gross game, to your point about the NFL. It's not like the Eagles don't play in bad weather either. So did the Bills really have that insane home field advantage? They have a great defense. I just think that they're the more complete team. So I hate betting against Josh Allen, especially at home. But if he's not 100%, which he got hurt last week with a leg foot injury, something like that. And we saw like all this whole season, right? Lamar Jackson, he's practicing in full. He's good to go. Never was the same. He never was good to go. So Josh Allen can say what he wants, say that I'm healthy, practice in full, whatever that means in December in the NFL, like being out there on the practice field. So I like Philadelphia with the upset on the road.
It's interesting too, because Josh Allen has beaten all 31 other teams or 30 other teams besides the Eagles. He's never beaten the Eagles. Only team in the NFL he's 0-2 against. It's a small sample size, but he's never beaten the Eagles. So that could be a bit of a kryptonite situation for him. But I think you're right about Saquon. I think this could be, if you're looking for an under game, if the weather really is going to be as nasty as they're projecting, which is torrential downpour, 45.5 isn't a bad look, although there is some money coming in on the over, driving that thing from 45 at most books to 45.5. I don't mind the under in that game for the Eagles. and the Bills, but I just think both teams are going to run the football given the weather. And I think it's James Cook or nothing for this Bills offense. So I think he has a big game running and receiving here today for this Buffalo Bills offense. Guys, one more reminder about the 6 months of BettingPros Premium for free. It's a great time to do it because of the playoffs being right around the corner. Just make a deposit and place your wager at a partner sportsbook. You get premium and it'll give you access to Sharp AI, the betting systems, the prop bet cheat sheet, and the same game parlay builder tools that can help you become a smarter bettor. Claim your upgrade now at bettingpros.com/premium. We go to Sunday night. Look at the Bears clinch the division. I think if you take your foot off the gas just a little bit against this 49er team, since Brock Purdy has come back, they are 5-0 straight up. They're 5-0 against the spread, and they've won all 5 games by double digits. This is not the team to relax. I think the Bears, the younger Bears team, just a little bit takes the foot off the gas here in primetime. I'm laying the 3.5 points. Give me the 49ers. Where are you?
I like the Bears. I don't trust the 49ers because they're always overvalued by the market when they play at home. Failed to cover the spread in 16 of the last 22 home games. Like, that's what always concerns me because it's always a big number because it's Kyle Shanahan and the Death Star that are coming in to destroy the opponent. And look, man, the Bears do this every single week, right? Underdogs win outright. Doesn't matter where they're playing because they can run the football. I mean, look, they continue to get undervalued every single week. And I get catching a field goal plus. 49ers win by a field goal that still cashes. So I like the Bears here on the road. I know that we had some news with DJ Moore popping up on the injury report with some illness. That actually one of my favorite bets in this game is a player prop. Is Colston Loveland going over his receptions at 3.5. Luther Burden's going to be back, but still a lot of question marks about these other Bears pass catchers. The 49ers are much better in terms of a weak defense against tight ends, basically ever since they lost Fred Warner, facing 8.5 targets per game to opposing tight ends. Colston Loveland has kind of been that main check down option for Caleb Williams. He's been consistently hitting around 3 to 4 receptions in every single week. Last week was a disappointment, but it was a bit tougher matchup against the Green Bay Packers. So I like Loveland to go over his receptions prop tonight.
So here's some stats for the Bears. They are 11-4 this year, but their schedule of victory, strength of victory, sits at 38.2%, which is the lowest mark for a top 7 team in the NFC. When they're facing teams above 500, the Bears are decent. They're 3-1-1 against the spread. Their only outright loss came against the Packers with that interception in the end zone when they were driving, trying to tie the game up. But this is a 49er team that has been tremendous on short weeks. 7-3, Brock Purdy on a short week after playing on Monday Night Football. He's bounced back and played really well. Defensively, I think this San Francisco offense or defense rather is going to be able to slow down the offense, stop the run, make it be about Caleb. And Caleb in primetime, he's won his last 2, but he opened his career 0-4. Now, that was before Ben Johnson showed up, and I'll give that to you. But again, I think it's only 3.5. This was a bigger number. I would go no. But the Bears don't need this game. In order for the Niners to get there, you can say it's a 3-point win. That's fine. You want to bet it off of 3 and pay the price to get down to 3, so it's there, fine. But I think Christian McCaffrey and company, look, the Patriots, I love. I feel about the Bears the same way I do about the Patriots. When they're playing these perennial, battle-tested, veteran-laden teams with a coach who knows how to win in December, this is not a good matchup for the Bears, in my opinion here. I know I get your point about where they are and how they've done this, but this is a game to set up next week because if you and I are right about the Panther game, the Niners will know about the Seahawks. They'll know they've gone in there and they've won very impressively. That sets up a monster game next week for the 1 seed, not just the division. It's for the 1 seed as long as the Niners take care of business. I like the 49ers to keep it rolling. 5-0. In blowouts, last 5 games. I think it's a double-digit win by the Niners tonight.
And even with no George Kittle? You feel even no Kittle? Yeah.
I think it's Purdy. As long as I got Brock, okay? It's more about the defense for me personally. I just think this is on the road. You're asking the Bears to go into Santa Clara. And remember, the Super Bowl is played in San Francisco. The 1 seed could be insane for the 49ers. They can play 3 games and win a championship and never get on a plane.
They're not going to the Super Bowl.
Just saying that they could never get on a plane. This is the most insane thing that could happen this year for a year that was supposed to be a throwaway year. and not matter, and a salary cap, all their moves they made in the offseason and getting rid of different players and whatnot, that this might be Kyle Shanahan's best coaching job.
Agreed.
It's not impossible. It's just not. Okay. They could sit at home and make both Seattle and LA go to Santa Clara, and they get to play at home in December, in January, maybe even in February at home for the Super Bowl. It's not crazy.
Or they just get beat by the Bears because they're looking ahead to week 18.
They can't get beat by the Bears. I mean, I guess. So what happens? So the Bears
every week. Oh, this team can't get beat by the Bears.
Okay,
The Bears beat them.
Again, the Patriots and the Bears are the same team. But what do you make of? Okay, so let's go through that. So if the Niners lose today, they can't be the 1 seed, right? Because the Rams would take the 1 seed, right?
Well, Seahawks if the Seahawks win, the Seahawks still have the 1 seed.
Well, if the Niners lose this week and win next week, I think that
they would just be higher a wild card seeding potentially, which I don't know if Shannon cares about that necessarily.
No,
the Rams don't care about that.
Okay, so let's assume the Niners are 11-4, the Rams are 11-4. The Rams are playing the Cardinals. They're playing tomorrow night, the Falcons. So they play tomorrow night against the Falcons. They'll win that game. And then they have the Cardinals, and they'll win that game too. So let's put the Rams at 13-4. If the Rams go 13-4, they got to win both games. Both teams have to win both games. So you need Seattle's going to win both games, and the Niners going to win both games. And then it gets to be a tiebreaker situation against the Rams, and both those teams have the tiebreaker over the Rams. So, I just can't see it. I cannot see the Bears winning this game tonight. Too much is riding. I like McCaffrey to have a monster game tonight. I think he's a complete playoff version of Christian McCaffrey going after it coming up here for tonight. All right, Sal's saying Seahawks can clinch the West in the 1 seed with a Seahawks win and a Ram loss or a tie. 49ers Bears has to tie, for them to get there. Yeah, that's not going to happen. So it all set up.
If they tie, Bears plus 3.5 cashes if they tie. So
true. That is true. That's very true. Taking the dog is smart in that scenario. Yes, it would be smart to do that. Guys, tomorrow night, Joe Madden will host a short betting live stream ahead of the Monday Night Football game that we just talked about for the Rams and the Falcons. You guys can check that out on the Betting Pros YouTube channel. It'll start at 8 p.m. Eastern time, right up until kickoff, so about 15 minutes or so. Check it out. Subscribe to our Betting Pros YouTube channel and click the bell so you're notified about all of our weekly live streams. All right, your full card, Erickson. Where are we going today?
Yep. So I like the Browns +3. Actually, it's like +4.5 now against the Pittsburgh Steelers at home. I like that number. And then the Seahawks laying the touchdown at the Carolina Panthers. And then for my player props, Michael Wilson under 4.5 receptions, just doesn't hit anywhere close to 4 catches whenever Marvin Harrison Jr. is just active in the lineup. Alec Pierce over 31.5 receiving yards. I think I mentioned 39.5 earlier during the show. Regardless, it's just a really, really low number that you can tease up to get even a higher payout. And I think that his odds of hitting 40, 50 receiving yards are right in the same range as him hitting 31.5 because he's a big play downfield threat. So against the pass funnel Jags defense, he's going to have opportunities to catch long passes. So I like Alec Pierce. And then Tony Pollard. This is also the play of the day, I believe, for Betting Pros. The prop pick of the day, Tony Pollard over 59.5 rushing yards. So we're all riding this one together. So it's going to be a fun one to bet and sweat out with everyone in the Betting Pros Discord, Betting Pros community. And then my anytime touchdown bets, mentioned it earlier with this Patriots-Jets game. Hunter Henry, I like him to score. No Mac Hollins, no Kayshon Boutte. Think that they lean a little bit more on the big tight end, especially in the red zone with Drake May. So I like Hunter Henry to score. And then that Colts-Jaguars game, the Jaguars have a lot of mouths to feed, but Brenton Strange, we saw what George Kittle did against this Colts defense. Absolutely eviscerated it. They cannot stop tight ends over the middle of the field. So I like Brenton Strange to score a touchdown. In the first matchup between these two teams, Brenton Strange actually scored, but it was taken off because of an offensive pass interference penalty. I think that Liam Cohen went back, rewatched that game, liked that play, and was like, no, we're going to run back to this play because it worked. Again, didn't pop up in the box score, but it did happen. So I think they're going to go back to Strange in the red zone. So I like Jaguars offense. I think Brenton Strange scores +250 for him, which I really like as a tight end with an offense that's just cooking, should score 30 points.
For me, my full card for today, I am with Andrew with the Seahawks. You guys can get 6.5 now. That number has come down off of 7 to 6.5. There's some late money coming in on the Panthers, but I like the Seahawks in the Eastern time zone. I think people are just forgetting about what Mike McDonald and his team looks like when they play at the 1 o'clock Eastern time slot. I like the Bengals in the first half against the Cardinals. The Cardinals have been getting eviscerated with Jacoby Brissett at the quarterback position, having him play early in games. They come back though in the second half, so I don't really want to get involved with the full 7. I want the 4 for the Bengals in the first half, and like we talked about, I like the 49ers over the Bears here to get a win, setting up a very big game between Seattle and San Francisco next week for the NFC West and the number 1 seed. I'm going to tease both the Jaguars and the Bucs down. There's been some real big movement from when I bet this. Tampa Bay is now a 5-point favorite or 5.5. Jacksonville now is a 4-point favorite. DraftKings is all the way down to 3.5. I'm not really sure where the money is coming in from, but clearly there is cult money in the market at the moment here. I just need a win for the Jags and a win for the Bucs, essentially with a money line parlay. And then my player props, I like Bucky Irvin to go over 82.5 rushing and receiving yards for Tampa today, given the fact they got to run the football and keep it away from Baker throwing the ball 35 times here. I like Bucky Irvin to have a big game. James Cook is the offense for the Buffalo Bills. I mean, without him, I don't know where they would be. He has been tremendous. He was awesome last week. I think he'll be awesome again today for this Bills offense. Over 102.5 rushing and receiving yards for James Cook. And then I like Run CMC to have a big game for the 49ers. I like San Francisco. I think it'll be on the backs of Christian McCaffrey. You mentioned the George Kittle news that he may not be playing in this game. I like Christian McCaffrey to get the workload here for this offense with Brock Purdy, over 114.5 rushing and receiving yards for Christian McCaffrey. And if you're wondering why why those numbers, prop bet cheat sheet has been very profitable with our rushing and receiving yard category. We've been cashing those numbers consistently. So 5-star play, all 3 of those plays are on the prop bet cheat sheet. All of those plays are 5-star plays for us here for the prop betting. All right, Erickson, in closing, week 17, final thoughts? Good luck to everyone.
Yeah. Enjoy the football. This might be the last full slate we have of teams playing with good amount of motivation, guys that we know who are actually playing on the field, because next week might look more like a preseason slate, to be totally honest with a lot of people. So I know the NFL tried to get rid of that by, let's add this extra game. Week 18 will be great, when everyone decided, you know what, we're going to make our bye week 18. So yeah, we'll see how things shake. So enjoy the football today. Again, our 3rd day of football. We got one more day tomorrow. Just a fun slate. Week 17 usually is. I think we have 3 playoff games next week, so I think we're going to have a lot of fun. I think every other game sucks, but I think we're going to have 3 playoff games coming up next week, which will make it for, we're going to focus in on those games, obviously. Bet player props and bet incentives in week 18. We'll do that coming up. Live stream will be with you for week 18 and throughout the entire postseason, all the way until the Super Bowl. So this is not going anywhere. So don't feel like, where are you guys going for the playoffs? We're going to be right here at noon Eastern time on the Betting Pros YouTube channel, checking in with you guys, giving you picks and thoughts and plays throughout the entire slate of games, whenever and whatever the games might be. For Sal in the back, he's Erickson, I'm Perrault, and we are back next week for week 18. Best of luck, everybody. And if you're in your fantasy football playoffs, well, go win it for you. See you next week, guys.